Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's Saturday, June 7th. And of course, I'm here with Elijah Weintraub, my trusty co host. Eli, how you
Well, good
doing?
morning. Good morning, Jim. Unfortunately, the weather is not great here in the Northeast, especially here in Jersey today. We are getting rain today. However, we have plenty of sports to talk about. We have the Belmont Stakes today, NBA, NHL, MLB. So much to talk about. We cannot wait to
Ton.
get into it. However, I just want to point out one thing. There was one thing that happened in the NFL this week. We have agreed that we're not going to bring it up on the show. If you know
Yep.
what happened, you know what happened. So please do not comment or ask us because we will not be answering that question because
Very good.
we don't want to talk about it. We already know our feelings about it.
We
So,
got
all
it.
right, let's go right
Very
into the
good.
monologue now. That is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York.
Yes. And I have a monologue. First and foremost, I want to offer my congratulations to my co host on his graduation this past week. And the next step is Seton Hall, and I'm
I
very
appreciate that.
excited. I'm very proud of you, young man. Very
Well,
proud.
thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot.
Good. And so one other thing, I wanted to point out something that really touched me this week, and I'm going to show this. We're going to post a picture later, but I just wanted you to know, that I had two friends of mine, Joe Anarumo and Brian Cordero, and I think some others were involved in it, but they took our picture of Stephen and I in our
I
football
saw that.
uniforms, and they made it into this. Um,
I'll put the picture up. I'll show it here.
yeah, but I just wanted to see it. It's framed, and it
I
really
gotta
is.
say, that is really one of the best pictures I've ever kind of seen in my life. And I
Me
want
too.
to say that I think the date that I see on top of the Mono and Mono is the first show that you guys ever done. Is that correct?
That's correct. And if you look also at the scoreboard, it says 5 on the left and 12 on the right,
Yep.
and that signifies the day my brother passed away. So this has
Oh.
very deep
Oh.
meaning to me. It was so touching, and I just wanted to thank those gentlemen. And like I said, it's cute. Now, Eli,
Yeah.
if you look at the picture very closely, and I want some of our audience members who are looking at that picture, something seems a little off in the picture, and it's kind of a comical, funny thing. And we'll get through the show, and if somebody notices what's very unique about the picture, that almost role reversals, send us a comment during the show. But I just wanted to point this out, that this was such a wonderful gift, and this is, you are now the official co-host of the show, but this was very special to me. I wanted to share it with our audience, so thank you.
That's great. I'm trying to figure out what the heck is the difference here. Either the jerseys were swapped or
Nope.
huh. I'm stuck here.
That's all
Okay,
right.
I'm
We'll come back to it.
all
We'll
right.
come
If
back
someone
to
in
it.
the comments knows, please let me know because I'm lost as well.
I
Derek
just
comments.
thought it was.
He says, "Shout out to Brian the Goat."
Yeah. Who's Brian? Oh, Brian. Yeah, of course,
Right.
Brian. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Derek. And like I said, I know you probably had a hand in it too, so thank you very much. All right, Eli, we got
All
a
right.
full show today. We got lots of
We do.
stuff to talk about, and why don't we start off with the NBA, right? And
Yeah,
this whole thing with the Indiana Pacers, and as Derek has pointed out before, they have a lot of depth on that team, and
they do.
a lot of
And
people thought SGA and Oklahoma City was, and if you look at it on paper, probably a more talented team. But
right.
Indiana goes in and takes game one on their OKC's home floor. What do you think?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm honestly shocked at the way OKC played because what we saw here was a huge upset. And why do I say huge upset? Well, because Oklahoma was leading the entire game. And then all of a sudden, boom, there you go. Halliburton once again in game one makes the final basket to say good night, Oklahoma, and hello, a game one win. All I got to
Yeah.
say is this series is actually pretty exciting. And this is honestly shocking to see that the Patriots are winning this like game and series at the moment. And honestly, now that they won game one, they have the best shot right now winning this series. They say that they have the best odds whoever wins game one. usually wins it. So I might have to say, I think Pacers might actually win this whole thing.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves first and foremost, but there has been a pattern throughout the playoffs with the Pacers. They've been down several times by more than
Right,
15 points, and they come back. And as we said last week, Eli, this is Tyrese Halliburton's team, and
right,
Pascal Siakam is also a key player. But this is a guy who did all the talking, and right now he's backing it up. And a lot of people say, well, he only scored 14 points in game one. I said, well, the last 2 points he scored, that was the only time they led in the entire game. So they are the
right,
comeback kids, if you want to call them that. And it certainly looks like this is going to be at least a 6, probably a 7-game series.
right.
Very, very exciting for the NBA.
It really is. And game 2 is tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on ABC. So that'll be pretty exciting to see. And will the Thunder get a win before they travel to a very tough Indiana place? Very tough to see, and we will see what happens. But the biggest news of the week that happened in the NBA was our very own New York team, the New York Knicks. They
Yeah.
fired Tom Thibodeau after 5 seasons. The Knicks have made the playoffs for the 5 years that he was the head coach and included an Eastern Conference final championship.
And
However,
Eli, if you could look
he's
at
fired.
Tom Thibodeau's record, right? He got him back to the conference final, first time in 25 years. And, I mean, I don't know what the expectations were or why this change is being made. You hear a lot of chatter behind the scenes that maybe Rick Brunson, the other coach, kind of undermined Thibodeau a
Right.
little bit with the players. And yeah, this was a big, big surprise move. And right now, I know rumors has it that they asked the Mavericks for permission to talk to Jason Kidd.
Right. That's what I
Um,
heard. Yes.
right, and then also, when I thought about this, and I talked about this with Derek and Frankie and other guys that know a
Yep.
little bit about sports, um, the initial name that came to mind was Jay Wright. And I don't know if
Yes.
he wants to get back into coaching, but if that was the choice, I don't think they could do any better. But it looks like they're going to probably try to get a guy with NBA coaching experience, whether it's Malone or whether it's these other candidates. But yeah, that was actually shocking news. I don't know what more he could
Yeah.
have done.
I think it was kind of shocking, but it's not kind of shocking. At the end of the day, he's been with the Knicks for almost 5 years. Yeah, they made the playoffs out of 4 to 5 years, but this was their best opportunity to make it to the championship, to the finals, and yet they blew it. They just gave up, and it seemed like they just did not want to play basketball. And that kind of falls on the coaching. Yeah, I understand if you can't make the shot, that's on your player, but that kind of falls on your coaching for not getting these guys motivated again and to keep them moving, especially in this Eastern Conference. Yes, they got him. He got him here, but enough was enough. It was not a championship season anytime soon. Yes, they were close, but they weren't there yet. And it makes sense. But a lot also has to do with the ownership. There's a lot of talks that possibly ownership was a factor into this. Were the owners making the right decision? We know that they're not at the best organization, I guess you could say, with the ownership. Like they had a lot of troubles in the past that they all wanted the ownership changed or whatever. But I don't know. It is a very interesting situation. How I look at it,
It is.
it did.
And
It's a little shocking, but not too shocking.
but let me just point out a couple of things. And this is kind of why it's shocking, because all year long, people have been talking about the Knicks. They have a championship caliber team, a legitimate, not a favorite,
Right.
right? But throughout the year and right up until 3 weeks ago, after
The
they
Boston
beat
series.
they beat the Pistons, they beat the Celtics, and then they go and they lose to Indiana. And now people are starting to point fingers, say, wait a minute, maybe this wasn't a championship caliber team. Well, I think Thibodeau had them there. I just don't know if the people on the floor are the ones that play the game. And, Brunson didn't have his greatest series. And I really still am shocked and surprised at how much criticism has been thrown at Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, the guy scores 35 points. Yes, his defense is questionable, but it's been questionable all year long, and they still got to the conference finals. So that's
Absolutely.
what makes this a little bit more surprising to me that, again, it's always the coach that takes the fall, but you got to look at the players. And there's discussions out there that the Knicks were interested in bringing Kevin Durant back.
Right.
And that would involve some big package.
Right, and it would just make it worse, I think, in my opinion. But yeah,
Yeah.
this was like a shock. Two other news stories that happened over in the NBA: the Suns are hiring former Cavaliers assistant coach Jordan Ott to become their new head coach.
Yep.
And finally, Adam Silver announces that there will be a Team USA versus the World All-Star style format. He says more things still need to be worked out, but this is all for sure that this is going to be the format next year. He said that
Mhm.
the prime reason is because of the Olympics taking place. And he also said the All-Star game will now be moved to the afternoon, no longer at night, since NBC is going to be the home of the All-Star game, and NBC also has the Olympics to worry about. So that
Yep.
was we'll see this happening next year. They're gonna try to follow suit as the NHL did this year with the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah. Well, the NBA season obviously is long, and like I said, there's definitely a fundamental difference between regular season play and playoffs. You could
Right.
see the intensity is completely different. There is more emphasis on defense. But yeah, this is gonna turn out to be a real good series. I'm not willing to say right now that the Pacers have the upper hand because, like I said, on paper,
Right.
OKC is pretty good. So this is going to be a battle throughout. And like I said, it's all on Tyrese Halliburton. And to be
It
quite
really is.
honest, I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for this guy because he's
I
taking this
agree.
team on his back, and I'm pulling for him.
And it's always the game one winners for him, and that is key. And if he could continue to play like he did in game one, yeah, the Pacers have it this series.
Yeah.
Couple comments here. Tom Pugh says, "Go Pacers, baby," and Derek says, "Plus Jay Wright coached 4 of the Knicks players already."
As we know from the Villanova days and national championship teams. So
Yeah,
that's why we thought it may be a perfect fit. But I don't know that Jay Wright, he seems awfully comfortable in that studio, doing
calling the game.
analysis for
Yeah,
college basketball.
yeah.
Great stuff, Eli. Great
Well,
stuff.
let's go to the Stanley Cup and the NHL. Well, the NHL world has been exciting because we have a tied series at 1. Both games went to overtime, and it's been nothing but exciting. Game 1 goes to the Oilers 4-3 in overtime, and then last night in game 2 in double overtime, it's the Panthers winning in 5-4, and no better than Marchand to win it for the Florida Panthers. Game 3
Wow.
is Monday from Florida, 8 o'clock on TNT, and just like that, we have a tie series.
Yep. And what a great trade
Series.
deadline pickup for Florida to get Brad Marchand. And
That was huge.
yeah, and
Huge.
he's playing. He's kind of almost the heart and soul of that team already.
Correct.
And it's amazing. But the games are outstanding. And as you said, it was a double overtime last night. And as you know, I've been on the Oilers bandwagon, and I still think we're going to see Connor McDavid hoist that trophy, but it's not going
100%.
to be easy. And it could
Right.
go either way, but this is going 7 games. And you know what? It's probably going to go game 7 and it'd be decided by overtime. So, how much more exciting can you get to win the hardest trophy in sports? Amazing.
100%. It can't get any easier, harder and easier. But what a series that is. Two other stories out of the NHL, though. The Stars have fired head coach Pete DeBoer, and the Penguins have hired Dan Moose as their new head coach.
Yes, they have. But I just wanted to get back to Connor McDavid because
Really
this
good.
guy is literally a human highlight reel for hockey. This is puck handling and stick handling that
At its
we
finest level.
haven't seen in a long time. I mean, you could put in guys like Gretzky and Messier and Mario Lemieux, but this guy seems like a magician, and it's hard for me to believe he's been in this league for 10 years already. But
It
I
is
I
crazy.
so want him to win a Stanley Cup because that will solidify him
His
as
Hall
one
of
of
Fame
the
ballot.
all-time greats. You bet.
Absolutely. I think if he does not win a Stanley Cup this year, we might have to question later on, will Connor McDavid be up on the top for the greatest of all time? Because again, a Stanley Cup means so much more. And if you cannot win a
Everything.
Stanley Cup, yeah, you're great, you play great, but you didn't win a Stanley Cup and you didn't offer to try to switch teams to win that Stanley Cup or make any of these offers. So we will see what happens. But again, I think this is huge. If he does not win the Stanley Cup this year, I don't know. There's gonna be some question for sure.
I don't know. They're still a very loaded hockey team. So
They are, but it's gonna be a tough series overall, though.
100%. This is a battle. This is the East, and the fight them in the corners and against a high flying Oilers team from the Western Conference with
Yeah,
wide open ice and unbelievable passing. So I'm very, very excited for the rest of this series.
absolutely.
What is that, Monday, Eli? Gonna be
Yes,
Monday?
Monday will be game 3 on TNT.
Okay, awesome.
Let's go to the MLB now.
Okay, Eli.
Well, the bottom line is the Mets are in first place and the Tigers are in first place. And the Rockies have only 12 wins on the season.
Right, right.
That's our summary.
Well, obviously, the biggest story is the Detroit Tigers. I mean,
Right.
yes, they do have the reigning Cy Young Award winner, but if you look on paper, you go, I don't know, this is the first team to get to 40 wins. Wow, that's pretty cool. And yes, the Mets are playing, and the Phillies are slumping. So
Yeah.
this could be a good time for the Mets to get a little bit of a cushion because, as you know,
It's a
teams
roller
go
coaster
through
ride.
slumps, and they lose leads and so forth. And don't count out the Atlanta Braves. Yeah, right now they're under 500 by a couple
Right.
games, but they're a very talented team. So that division is going to be one of the toughest to win. And across crossing leagues into the American League, I mean, what can you say about this guy, Aaron Judge, and the year he's having? He's really
Yeah.
just unbelievable. Another 3
Absolutely.
hits last night.
He's really doing fantastic. Can he keep
yeah.
it up, though? That's the question.
I know, and I think that I don't see any reason he won't keep it up. But that's a very good story. We're literally battling Judge and Ohtani. Who is the best player in the game? And you can make a case for either one.
Ohtani, no question.
You can make a case for Judge. Just saying.
I can make a case for Judge. When he wins World Series, I'll make a case for Judge.
Okay. I know
When he wins and he shows something in the playoffs, when he shows something in the playoffs in the World Series, I'll make a case. But for right now, I can't make a case. However, did you hear this one big story? This week, the Red Sox set a new record for the shortest walk-off home run. Only 308 feet. Cedane Raphael had the game winner against the Angels, and they won that game 11-9 on Wednesday. Pretty cool. Almost a regular foul, but it just made past the left yellow post.
Well, that's definitely, and you know what they call that foul pole? They call that the pesky pole.
Yes.
In Fenway Park. So it barely made it over. What was it?
308 feet.
308 feet.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
I think I could hit a 308-foot home run.
I don't think I can. I can't even throw a ball. I mean, that's why I sit behind the desk and I don't play sports, folks.
Yeah. Well, listen. So obviously the baseball season is very, very long. So I think we're at almost about the 100 games to go, Mark.
Well, we have 64 games. Yeah, it's about 100 away. Yeah, 100.
Yeah. So this is the long stretch. This is the dog days of summer, and that's what baseball.
That's why I have summer here for, folks. All right. Well, let's go right now to the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga Springs. Coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. on Fox. The main race hour and final hour programming begins at 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 on Fox. Let's talk about these horses.
So just let me show my shirt.
Of course, Saratoga. Absolutely.
Right. That was gifted to me, but of course I'm definitely wearing it now. Yeah, so this is the last year it's going to be run at Saratoga because all of the improvements at Belmont Park will be done. But let's talk a little bit about this because you know how exciting this is to me.
Weather will be a factor. That's number one.
So whether the weather holds up or doesn't hold up, that can affect it. But it's not.
We'll have a muddy track regardless.
Right. It's not a big field. And right, Sovereignty and Journalism are two of the favorites, of course, and rightfully so. Right. They won. They each won one leg of the Triple Crown.
Right.
I'm gonna throw a horse out there that I think could possibly pull an upset, and again based on the weather. So I'm gonna go with even though I think Journalism is the best horse in the race.
Right.
But I'm gonna go my Sports with Mono and Mono long shot, and it's not a long shot, it's a very good horse, is Baez. So
okay.
We'll see how that goes. Do you have something you
Yeah, I personally think I said it from the Kentucky Derby when it started. I think Journalism was the best horse all along, and I think if it wasn't for Sovereignty, Journalism should have been the Triple Crown winner, in my opinion. And I think Journalism takes the victory here in the Belmont Stakes today. Coming in second, though, I'm going to go with second place will be Hill Road. Hill Road is my second place pick. And my third place pick, Sovereignty. I think it's going to be in a little bit of a slump for him, considering that he did not play in the Preakness. So I think we're going to go with Journalism to win it, Hill Road in second, and Sovereignty in third.
And Eli, the intrigue with this being at Saratoga, and this means a lot because
Right.
you know, the Belmont Stakes has always been known because it's a mile and a half, and that's
Right.
almost a
Big
marathon for horse. And that's why horses don't win Triple Crowns very often, right? The
Right.
last being Justify, and then before that American Pharaoh, and then before that Affirmed. So it's been a while, and it's hard to do. But that makes a big, big difference in this race. That's why I think horses like Baez has a legitimate shot to win it. Because you don't have to pull that endurance card out. And
Right.
if you look at what Journalism did and his race and what Sovereignty did, it almost looked like they were running out of gas. And the fact that they don't have to go that extra quarter mile, that makes this even a more competitive race. So just keep an eye on Baez, and Journalism, obviously the favorite, and very, very exciting day at Saratoga. I was going to go up for it, but I something came up. But you know how I feel about Saratoga, and having the Belmont there is very special.
You'll get there eventually. You'll be back.
Oh,
But before we get to tennis, let's go to the WNBA real quick. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the WNBA because right now the Liberty and the Lynx, they're 8-0. They're still perfect. And now the perfect record to beat is 13-0, held by the Lynx just a few years ago. So we'll see if one of these two teams break it. Today's TV lineup, today at 3 o'clock on ABC, you have Las Vegas taking on Golden State. An interesting matchup there, considering Golden State's a new team in town, and Las Vegas only has 4 wins on the season, just early on as we just started. Indiana, Chicago is the big game tonight, 8 o'clock on CBS. 10 o'clock on local TV, Seattle and Phoenix won't be available in our area, but you can check their local listings if you're out in that areas. Tomorrow on local TV, Connecticut, Washington, 3 o'clock, and Minnesota, Dallas at 4. The Liberty return on Tuesday at 8 o'clock on ESPN as they take on Chicago. The Liberty look to go 9-0. They had a great game the other day, and they hope to go 9-0. Off to a good start in the season.
I will tell you this. You are clearly our WNBA expert. And I don't know, is there something wrong with me that I just can't get overly excited about the WNBA?
Yes, because right now you have to be. The Liberty are still perfect, and the Liberty won a championship for our New York team. The Knicks and the Nets haven't won a championship in the NBA yet for our team. This is the only good basketball team in our New York area that is actually good for once. So you have to start rooting and watch the WNBA. It's exciting. My 9 or Fox 5 is your local channel here in New York where you can watch it. So watch some Liberty basketball. And Nesco's fantastic right now.
I know. There's no question that there's great talent in it. And, it's very exciting for a basketball fan to see this and the impact that Caitlin Clark has had, and Angel Reese, and all those players. But I guess maybe I don't know. I'm kind of focused on the NBA right now, so maybe I'll warm up a little bit more to the WNBA.
Bobby said, "Start watching CC Jim."
What's CC? CC. I don't know. Do you know what that is?
No, it's not a WNBA team.
No. Bobby, tell us what CC is.
I want to say it's baseball. CC?
Well, CC Sabathia, but I don't see the relevance there. But thanks for the comment, Rob. Appreciate it. Got another comment sitting there. Anybody yet? Find out.
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
I mentioned her.
Okay. Yeah, okay. But the thing is, Bob, you got to put in the big words. Like CC could be CC Sabathia.
But I mentioned her. I mentioned her as a formidable,
of course,
exciting player. No doubt.
Right now. Okay. Thank you, Bob. I just want to point out. Expand. Don't just put CC. I think CC Sabathia. Like what? Like I don't think Caitlin Clark. All right, appreciate the comment though. But Caitlin Clark is also fun to watch. Again, that game's tonight. Indiana versus Chicago, 8 o'clock on CBS. So check that out tonight.
But we still have this open. If you guys saw the picture that I posted of our caricature of Sports with Mono and Mono.
Okay, I'm gonna put it up and after the random points segment. If nobody gets what is missing from this picture, what's different about it, we'll have to Jim to reveal it here. So again, this is the photo, and we want to know what is missing and what's different from this photo.
And I'm gonna I'm
Let
gonna
us know in
think
the
either
comments.
I'm gonna think either Bobby or Andy Carolyn, who I know is listening, might pick up what I'm referencing. Anyway, move it on.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the tennis talk. Jim, recap us on the French Open.
I certainly shall. So on the women's side, looking for going to be a great final. You have Coco Gauff made the finals again, and she's going up against Sabalenka, who, she beat Swiatek. So those were the two names I said are the dominant players with Coco Gauff on the women's side. That's why this is always a wide open tournament. You get these very low ranked players that just step it up, and but it's going to be very, very exciting. And Coco Gauff came up a little bit short last year, but she's going up against the best women's player in the world. And she's only 21, 22 years old. So she's going to have many, many opportunities, and
Right.
she's going to win Grand Slams like she won the U.S. Open. So, but I'm looking for Sabalenka to take that in a 3-set match on the women's side. And Eli, on the men's side, this is pretty much scripted where we were talking about last week, right? We've been talking about the young guns, right? No longer do we have Federer, no longer do we have Nadal, and Djokovic makes it all the way to the semifinals. That would have been an unbelievable story, would have sealed his legacy as the greatest major champion winner. But unfortunately, he gets knocked out. But how many times did we talk about the new guns, the young guns, the new breed, the Alcarazes, the Sinners, and that's who we have. That's where we're at in the finals, and it's going to be an amazing final. It's going to be a 5-set marathon, probably going to be almost a 4-hour match. But I'm going to go with Alcaraz this time to win, even though Sinner's the number one player in the world. I think Carlos Alcaraz is going to solidify his position. He's going to be battling Sinner for the number one ranking for years to come, and it's going to be a great match. And I think Alcaraz can pull this off. And I don't know with the time difference. What time is the?
Should be this morning.
The women are playing today.
Yes.
The men tomorrow.
Yes,
right?
I'll give you an update. Bobby does say on a comment real quick, it looks bad for religion when a sinner keeps winning.
But
yeah, I'll give you the time
for the women's. Wasn't there also a question? He kind of had a negative or a positive drug test of some sort.
That final's actually happening now. They're saying it's live.
Is it? All right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's worth watching, folks. And now I have one of our friends and loyal listeners, Frankie Pisani, who's realizing how exciting tennis is. And it, from a lot of young generation, they don't get it. We have the Mike Garveys down in Naples who
I don't get it. I'm sorry. I get the hype. I get it. Coco Gauff is pretty cool to watch, but I can't get into it. I mean, there's too much other content right now to watch. I don't know.
All right. Well, let's make a deal here. I'll watch the French Open. You watch the WNBA. How about that?
How about that? We split on that one. All right.
Okay. Very good.
I think it's time now for some random points, and that is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut.
Yep. Loyal supporter of our show from the get-go. So I got some. I got a bunch.
I have a
here.
lot.
I'm gonna run down mine, and you run down yours.
Absolutely. Let's roll.
Yep. So, as you know, the U.S. Open Golf Championship is next week at Oakmont, up in Pennsylvania. And by the way, last time it was played at Oakmont, I went there for the entire day, and I saw Jack Nicklaus play, and Ernie Els won that tournament back in 1995. But it's a historic course. I'm looking forward to that. But look at what's on the horizon. We're seeing golf greatness in Scotty Scheffler. He went in and wins Jack Nicklaus's Memorial Tournament. I don't know if he's playing in the Canadian Open. He may be resting up for that. But the U.S. Open is the toughest championship in golf to win because of the rough and all the thing. But it's a great venue. That's next week. But Scotty Scheffler is clearly putting on this Tiger Woods like streak that we saw for how many years? 15, 20 years with Tiger.
Pretty
we
much.
could be watching the same thing happen. We know, a lot of people thought Spieth and Thomas were going to be that next Tiger Woods.
Right.
And yeah, they win here and there. They play good golf. But Scotty Scheffler wins a lot. And
Yeah.
he is just so focused, and I'm excited for that. So a couple other things, Eli. We brought up a couple times we brought up Sean Kemp last week, and all of these off the field things from these athletes, and one in particular is this Wando Franco. He was the guy for Tampa Bay, and they signed him as an 18-year-old, multi-million-dollar contract, and now he's going to trial in the Dominican Republic. Again, these guys just can't take success and just run with it. They got to do these off the field things, and it drives me crazy, but I had to bring it up. Wanted to bring up also, we talked last week was the Champions League final with PSG versus Inter Milan, and PSG absolutely rolled them 5-0. Clearly a dominant win, and that was, like I said, that made Diego Cruz,
Very
our
happy.
resident soccer expert, very, very happy that I did watch a good portion of that game. So congratulations to them. And, there's a lot of tournaments going on right now. And, one of our loyal listeners was explaining to me some of the different tournaments. Some are Germany and some are, Portugal, and Ronaldo scores a goal, and, just a lot of big tournaments. I'm starting to get a little bit more knowledgeable on it, but that was a great win for them. Here's one of those good stories, right? Derek Carr retires, and he says he left $30 million on the table. He says, I'm not going to, go get surgery and be out for the year and collect $30 million. You don't see that very often in sports, so I give him a lot of credit for that.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
That never
30
happened.
million? 30. I get if it's $1 million, maybe $2 million. $30 million? Are you kidding me?
Yes, he's made
I hate to be
over.
rude. I hate to be rude, but I would stay on the team and collect my $30 million. I'm sorry, I would not.
Most people would. That's what
I would. I mean, I would too. Would you
that's
do
what
that?
made this. That's what made this a random point, because it's just so rare.
Would you do that?
They're going to give him They're going to give him a buyout piece, so they're going to give him like $10 million to go out the door. But he left that on the table.
What would you do?
It's like the old question: would you take the money and go play live golf or not? I don't know. I think if I had $150 million in the bank like he does, I may be tempted, but you're right. I don't know that I would leave 30 million on the table.
I don't think I would leave 30 million. I mean, considering that we, everybody around this area, we all grew up with no money. So that. So absolutely take the money.
Yeah, that was an interesting take.
Wow.
Very classy.
Wow. What a point there.
Yeah. So Eli, Texas beat Texas Tech last night in the Women's Softball College World Series, and that's the first championship for the University of Texas. So congratulations to them. And they beat a dominant pitcher. I think that the Texas Tech pitcher, her name is just escaping me, but she pitched like every single inning in the whole tournament. So that's amazing. She was almost impossible to beat, but Texas did it. So congratulations to them. And they got a lot of good viewership on that college softball, and Eli, I don't know all the legalities of this, and we've talked about this, excuse me, time and time again, the nil, the portal, the money.
Right. I saw that.
There was some sort of a settlement yesterday that there's $2.8 billion to go around that schools can now pay
athletes directly.
Like
which
as an
pretty,
employee.
That's big.
So that is big. And like I said, it's just thrown, I don't want to say chaos, but it's making college sports
like a professional league, like it should be, like a professional league. It's not turning to be like a college sport that it once was. It's changing forever. It's now.
And if they're going to do that, then I think the student, quote unquote, employees now should pay for their own school. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And one last thing, this is kind of an off the beaten path, but as you know, I'm a history guy, right? I like the American Revolution and Civil War.
Yep.
So I saw this little story that back in 2022 was the last time a Civil War descendant, in this case, obviously from a long time ago, um, got a pension check. So this woman was the daughter of a Civil War veteran who had her when he was 83 years old back in 1930. And she was a special needs child. So she got the pension, all of $73.
Yeah,
But think of that. This is over 200 and some odd years that pensions were still paid for Civil War veterans, which is great. I love it. But that was
absolutely.
an interesting fact.
Frankie
And
comments. He says, "Good morning. Looking forward to Alcaraz versus Sinner tomorrow."
I know you are, Frankie. Me too, buddy. Me too. Thanks for watching the show today. All right, Eli, give me
All
your
right,
point.
let's roll with it. Lions Frank Ragnow has announced his retirement from the NFL. The Savannah Bananas have picked up a mini contract with the CW, aka that's picks 11 for around here. And they will air on July 27th at the 3 o'clock game. That'll be on CW. Possibly more games going to be added to the CW as well. We know Savannah Bananas have picked up a contract with ESPN. Now they're doing a little one with the CW. TNT is set to get one additional college football game, this time adding a semifinals game beginning in 2026 through the 2028 seasons. ESPN SportsCenter anchor Jay Harris has announced on Good Morning America that he has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So he'll be stepping away for a little bit, but will be returning stronger than ever. All the best to Jay.
Jay Harris is a solid pro, and
Yes.
wish him all the best. He's been a long time ESPN guy.
ABC 7 New York's Bill Ritter will no longer do the 5 p.m. news, just the 6 o'clock news. Bill is obviously nearing retirement. He gave up the 11 o'clock just a few weeks ago. So that's he just wants to keep something available for now, but it's likely he'll stop 6 o'clock very soon.
Yeah.
This past week was the final show of Get Up from the Seaport Studios. They moved to their new 7 Hudson Square Disney Studios on Monday. First Take, along with most ESPN radio shows, moved to the new building on June 23rd, along with ABC's Good Morning America, which will air its final show from Times Square on June 13th and 14th. And by the 15th, they'll move to the new downtown building.
Okay.
And finally, the Macy's 4th of July fireworks are returning to the East River this year, along with fireworks from the Brooklyn Bridge. So that's
my 4th of July moment was I was invited as a guest on a boat, and we left from Connecticut and drove down the Hudson River to downtown New York City and got to watch the 4th of July fireworks from a boat in New York Harbor. It was special.
That's awesome. What a moment. And just like that, we enter the entertainment and photo segment that's sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan this QR code to learn more.
Yep. All right, Eli, I got some pictures here, right?
Yes, we also have the movie. And I gotta make my picks too. So go for it. You first.
Okay, we got it. So my movie, and like I said again, I don't know, it's just one of my all-time favorites, is The Great Escape. And it's a great cast with Steve McQueen and James Garner and a whole bunch of other, James Coburn, Charles Bronson. Really is it's a true story of these guys, prisoners in a German camp, and they dug these tunnels to get out. It's just a great movie. I've seen it 100 times. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's really a great movie, and it stands the test of time for me.
Wow. Yeah, for me, well, the Broadway show Good Night and Good Luck will be ending tomorrow at the Winter Garden Theater, and as Mama Mia will be taking over in August at that same theater. However, if you weren't able to check out the show, you can watch Good Night and Good Luck live tonight at 7 o'clock on CNN, the app, or wherever you watch or follow CNN. So that's happening tonight. A pre-show happens at 6:30 p.m. with George Clooney and everything, and Joy Anderson Cooper. But the main show will be live at 7 o'clock CNN, and of course, perfect timing because tomorrow is the Tony Awards, 8 o'clock on CBS. So the Broadway's biggest night in award show format.
Well, so, and I'm telling you right now, I'm giving a Sports with Mono prediction that George Clooney will win Best Actor in a Broadway show for his performance of Edward R. Murrow.
And Good Night and Good Luck.
Yeah, but here's the dilemma for some of our sports enthusiasts. Are you going to be watching the basketball game tonight, or are you going to be watching?
That's tomorrow, basketball.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's basketball.
Oh, tomorrow. Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
was going to
Tonight's
say,
just WNBA, but you can go back and forth between WNBA basketball and Indiana Fever after the Broadway show is over at
okay.
7 o'clock. So yeah, you can go back and forth between CNN and CBS.
And like you said, Mamma Mia is going on Broadway, and I know you're a big fan. We talked
I
about it
know we
before
talked
the
about it.
show.
I love ABBA the music, and I got to go see it. I'm gonna be seeing it. I got to see it.
And that's so unusual because that ABBA was in my time
Yeah,
frame, my,
well, trust
my
me.
era.
They say all the time, like I'm an oldies person. I love listening to the old classic music, the '70s. I love '70s music with disco music. I love it. So you can catch me listening to old music. Very few from the new generation, but yeah,
Excellent. Good
yeah. But I
stuff,
love
Eli.
ABBA music. Take a
Yep.
chance on me. Thank you for the music. Oh, great songs. Dancing Queen, of course. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right, here we go. Here's some photos.
All right, Eli. So this is a very this is from the world of boxing, and that's one of my college roommates on the left, and on the right is Tony Graziano. And Tony Graziano just celebrated his 103rd birthday yesterday. He's a World War II veteran, and then he got into the boxing game, and he was a manager for a couple of fighters that our old time loyal listeners might remember, Carmine Basilio and also Billy Backus. And he led them. He was their manager. They were both welterweight champions under their tutelage. And
Wow,
he's a member of the Boxing Hall of Fame, which is up in Syracuse, New York. And I
that's
would
awesome.
love to have it, be able to speak to him. So my friend Mike Burns there, he's a big fan, and I think he was going to try to go see Tony yesterday. But isn't that great picture?
That's awesome.
A
Wow.
World War II vet and a very well-renowned Boxing Hall of Fame member, Tony Graziano. Happy birthday!
Yeah. Well, here's the next one.
All right,
As
what's
soon as it
this
loads.
one?
There you go.
Well, there's the star of the show. That's Hudson Miller, my grandson. Who listen? Doesn't everybody who's 3 years old deserve a John Deere tractor? Isn't that what you're supposed
Yeah,
to get?
that's
Right?
awesome. Absolutely, of course.
Happy third birthday, my buddy.
All right. Before I get to my photos, what did we all miss? I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe if it's Don Bosco this field or something. I want to
Nope.
know.
Nope. If
Okay.
you look at it, remember, Steve was the quarterback. I was the linebacker. So he should have the football.
The little detail. I knew.
Right?
Oh, the little detail I missed, man. Wow.
Not that it diminishes the honor
It's
I
great,
have.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I just thought that's the first thing that caught my eye. I go, wait a minute, I'm not the quarterback. He is. Anyway,
How do you
so
like
if you
that?
didn't get it,
Yeah.
I would have expected it. Now here's a
Yeah.
picture that we mentioned before, and again, I'm very, very proud of you and your accomplishments at St. Mary's, all the
Yes.
awards that you won, and that's a great, great picture. And
Yes, this is
you
with
know,
Principal Frank Viteretti, and I have all the Honor Society cords and plus the Principal's Medal, which I happened to win that night as well. So
Yeah.
that's pretty unique. And
So-
also one of my favorite pictures I think that came out. This was from one of the photographers there. Fantastic shot of it. That's what I thought.
excellent.
At me at the podium, yeah. And
Well, listen, St. Mary's is losing two outstanding representatives of the high school and academic wise with your partner Jack and
Yeah.
yourself. Just congratulations, Eli. You did a wonderful job.
Well, a couple comments real quick. Danielle gives a love, and Bobby says, I thought the scoreboard represented something, and it does. Jim, you want to go ahead and explain that?
I do. And if you look at it closely, there is 2019 up on the scoreboard, and that represents the first time Stephen and I did the show, Mono and Mono, so long ago already, hard to believe.
Wow.
And if you look at on the score thing, it says 5 and then 12, and that represents the day Steve passed away. So it has very sentimental meaning, as well as our tie back to our show. And good pick up on there, Rob, by the way.
But I do got to say, I love that photo. It really came out really good.
Me too. I'm so happy, and it meant the world to me what those young gentlemen did for me. Very excited.
We do have a couple of notable passings. Go for it, Jim, and I'll catch up if I'm.
Okay. So we do have a couple from, and I think I saw the show a couple times. It was John Brenkus, who had a show called Sports Science on
yes, on ESPN.
On ESPN, yeah.
He was 53.
He was a young man, 53, and I know he came
1971.
public. He had some mental health issues and so forth, but
Yeah.
he lasted a long time, and some of his stories were very interesting. So certainly
Yeah.
notable in the world of sports for us. Now, a couple other ones in the world of football, and
Yep.
um, excuse me, Jim Marshall, one of the members of the famed Purple People Eaters, right? It was Jim Marshall, Carl Eller, Alan Page, and Gary Larson. Just one of the all-time greatest defensive lines in the history of football. And he was 87 years old. He was also the captain of the Vikings for 14 seasons. And he held the consecutive game streak for many, many years until Brett Favre actually broke it. But from a defensive player, he holds the most consecutive game streak. And of course, he's famous, the NFL video of the fumble, and he picked it up and he ran 50 yards the wrong way into the end zone for a safety for the other team.
Wow.
Did you ever see that clip, Eli?
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty great. Wow.
Isn't that something? But he was definitely, and he's one of the guys. You know how I was very passionate and insistent that guys like Joe Klecko get their Hall of Fame recognition. I'm perplexed as to why Jim Marshall is not in the Hall of Fame.
No.
And a lot of people say, well, they were in 4 Super Bowls and they lost 4 Super Bowls. But that doesn't diminish the individual contributions that Carl Eller had and that Alan Page, who were in the Hall of Fame. He was just a key component of that team as well. So big loss, and he was a great player.
Absolutely.
And one that just came, and this is very interesting because I've watched this guy his entire career, Tom Raftery, 70 years old, former Dallas Cowboys lineman.
Yes.
Drafted like in the 4th round out of Penn State, and he played a long time. He came in and played guard for the first 5 years of his career, and then he was the center for the rest of his career. And just a great player for those Dallas Cowboys team. Has a Super Bowl ring, actually. And
Yeah.
here's an interesting fact. He was the center for both Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman. So he was the center for 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Interesting. I have 2 more.
Go ahead.
Okay. Japanese baseball legend Shigeru Nagashima has passed away. He was born in 1936. He was 98 years old, and he played 17 seasons in the MLB.
What was his name?
Shigeru Nagashima.
I don't remember him playing in the major leagues at all.
That's what MLB posted, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And finally, Renee Victor, the voice of Abuelita in Disney's Coco, has passed away. She was 71 years old, born in 1938.
You do get that Disney plug in there all the time. I'm starting to think you're getting compensated on the side, Eli.
Well, regardless, we had a great show today. We thank everybody for watching, for commenting. We have plenty more to talk about next week. And we hope you join us then 10 o'clock right here on Sports with Mono and Mono.
Well, and again, we would love to hear your comments and thoughts on the picture that I posted up. And of course, that is sports with Mono and Mono at gmail.com. And, when we get comments from a Tom Pugh in Indiana fan, and he lives in Kansas City, and they had some terrible weather over the past couple of weeks. Glad they're okay. So we do care about our loyal listeners very, very much. And thank you from the bottom of our heart. And, we're going to put up a good show. This show is going to get better and better and more interactive and so forth. So,
no question.
Yep. Everybody, like I said, we got through this little
weekend.
mini heat wave that we had in New Jersey, right?
Yeah, well, now we got the rain on the way, so
yeah,
not looking forward to that. But hope everyone has a great weekend. Enjoy the sports, enjoy the shows, and we hope to see you all next Saturday.
Okay, Eli, have a great week. Have a great week.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Bye.